Welcome into Four Down Territory. I am Kyle Madsen, the managing editor of the Niners Wire. Joining me, as always, the lovely, the talented Doug Farrar, the managing editor over at Touchdown Wire. And Doug, training camps have started. We made it.
Yes.
We did it.
Yes.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of me. I'm proud of everybody who watches Four Down Territory. And with teams beginning training camp,
I'm proud of everyone who hasn't changed the name of their company to product to something else this morning.
Yeah, welcome to X. No, I'm sorry, Y.
Yeah.
X is taken. We're on to Y.
YX. Yeah, I'm proud of everyone but that guy over there. Anyway.
All right. We will. How much football do you think the CEO of Twitter watches? Or whatever he is now?
Very little.
I'm going to guess next to none.
Could he
name 10?
Africa, so he's probably into like Aussie rules football or who knows what. Maybe he's trying to do a new sport too.
gonna buy the USFL and rebrand it. Okay, but training camps, they're in full swing now, so that's what we're gonna focus on. We have more pressing NFL storylines than we've had really in a long time. It's been a lot of generating content. Well, now it's reacting to things, so we're gonna do that. And as we kind of poke around the league here and look at all 32 camps, which of these stories that are starting to emerge do you find most interesting?
Well, I'll tell you, Kyle, as much as I'm prepared to be annoyed by the Aaron Rodgers experience when it gets going at full speed, because it's always annoying, I'm also tremendously interested in what this Jets offense will look like with competent quarterbacking. I don't think there's any question that this would have been a playoff team last season were it not for the evil triumvirate of Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, and Mike White. What are we doing here? And while Rodgers' 2022 season left people wanting in comparison to his Hall of Fame best, he's also going to top receiver in Garrett Wilson, who brings the kind of production and athletic potential that Rodgers hasn't had since Devontae Adams. I mean, the fact that Garrett Wilson stood out the way he did last year with those quarterbacks, you put him with Rodgers, you're already seeing catches in training camp. You're like, okay, yeah, we're here. So overall, I'm highly interested in the Jets as a concept and the offense as a specific construct.
And the Garrett Wilson video that went viral on Saturday or Sunday, I forget what day it was, but it was like a really, really nice play. It wasn't just an easy crosser, guarded by nobody. So that I'm with you, man. That's going to be
cover 3. Let's, how impressive is that?
Right. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers connects with Garrett Wilson. Like, no, that was a nice pitch and catch there. Yeah. I'm with you. As annoying as it might get, it's going to be fascinating to see how that all works. I'm gonna. And
maybe Aaron Rodgers will change his name to X, and something else will happen.
There's a lot of single letters going around the league. Yeah. The player I'm interested a little bit for the same reasons, but a younger quarterback, Justin Fields, and what's going on with Chicago and his improvement or possibly lack thereof is the thing I'm most eager to see this year in camp. So we saw last season that Justin Fields as a runner, I think got underrated a little bit as a runner coming out because he impacted games in a really significant way for them down the stretch last year, just with his legs. I think there's still a lot of development left to happen as a passer, but that starts with getting him weapons, and they did that with DJ Moore. Chase Claypool, TBD, but I think that what the Bears are doing to help Justin Fields is going to help him take a little bit of a leap this year. And I'm fascinated to see exactly what that looks like because I was kind of out on Justin Fields through the first, 3 or 4 games of last year. And then he started running as much as he did. And you start to see how that pairs. Okay, now the baseline for where he needs to be as a thrower comes down a little bit. And now it becomes, I think, a little more realistic. And it might be a realistic jump that we see as early as this year. So I think that the Bears have a chance to be one of those like worst to first type of teams that really come out of nowhere. And I think that hinges largely on what kind of leap we see from Fields in year 3, because that roster, I think, is still a few players away. So he's going to have to carry them.
Yeah. Well, DJ Moore, however good you think DJ Moore is, he's better. To me, he's a top 12 receiver in the NFL. You haven't seen it, but you see it. It's kind of like the Garrett Wilson thing with the quarterbacks you had, and not so much, but yeah, he's great. And Fields, as some mobile quarterbacks are able to do, he creates opportunities for himself as a thrower, as a runner, because all of a sudden, at safety, I can't come, I can't stay in too deep. I have to come down as a robber because what if he just torches me? They create
Yeah.
that sort of schism for a defense. And really, you could call last year Justin Fields' rookie year because year one with Matt Nagy was, you just get a mulligan on the whole thing. Like any rookie who played with Urban Meyer in Jacksonville, just start over. So yeah, that's an interesting kind of sub story for me as well.
I also, and I think you're probably on board with this as well, I can't wait to hear about how good the vibes are in Washington. Like every positive thing that comes out of Washington is going to be like a jab at Dan Snyder, and I'm here for it.
Yes.
I'm really excited for that.
As I was putting together my receiver list for next month, and I was watching some Terry McLaurin stuff yesterday. Put on my Sarah McLachlan voice. Will somebody please get this man a great quarterback? Please?
He's so good. He is so talented.
Scary Terry.
Jahan Dotson too. Jahan Dotson can play as well.
Yeah, he's good, but McLaurin is like top 5.
I'm with you.
Yeah, he's amazing. But yeah, between George Preston Marshall and Dan Snyder, it's like a half century of horrible ownership for that poor franchise. Yikes.
I know it. All right, let's flip the script here. Which training camp story are you already tired of before maybe it's even happened?
It didn't. The Deshaun Watson thing couldn't even get out of the parking lot before I was just disgusted with the whole thing. They recently tried a hype video on what is now, I guess, called X or whatever, consisting of Deshaun Watson throwing a ball about 5 yards into a net. Right on target. Okay.
Drilled it.
It's pretty interesting, Kyle, how quickly that franchise has had to go from all this trouble is worth it because he's the face of our franchise to, hey, look, our quarterback threw the ball in the right direction without falling down. That took exactly one season. Watching the Browns try to paint over what might wind up being one of the worst trades in sports history is going to be tough to stomach for all kinds of reasons. We're not really even getting to the off-field stuff, but he's already sort of deflecting that and blaming the media in a press conference. And yes, I read the entire transcript. And yes, I saw the entire video. So I'm not taking this out of context. We're already sort of getting that sports washing thing in Cleveland. And he's got some willing stenographers. And it's just, man, it's not going to be pretty. I was sick of it last year. I'm sick of it now.
Yeah.
I'm $230 million sick of it. That's all I can say about that.
He's in the best place he's been in a long time. I read that quote a lot.
And he's found his personal Lord and Savior. All right, good for you.
Yeah, good for him. Fingers crossed.
Nice day.
I'm already tired of everything related to Odell Beckham Jr. And I think that's residual from last season when he was, flirting with half the teams in the league and being wined and dined only to end up not signing. And so he ends up with the Ravens. And I think that's a nice get for the Ravens as, a third receiver, because I think that's really where Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be most effective. But again, it's not to disparage him or the addition for the Ravens, but like, they drafted Zay Flowers, a player that I like very much. Todd Monken is their new offensive coordinator. I think he's going to help out their passing attack a lot. Mark Andrews is still there, of course. I think there's so many things that are going to help Lamar Jackson as a quarterback that go beyond Odell Beckham Jr. Like, he's on the list, but he's way down the list. But I think that proportionally in training camp, I think the Odell Beckham Jr. hype is going to be so high. We're going to get a highlight of a one-handed catch, or, oh, look at this one-on-one that he dusted the corner. Odell Beckham Jr. is back. Like, no, man, don't put that kind of hype on this man at this point. Like, he's still a good player.
Don't put that voodoo on me, Ricky Bobby.
No, right. Do not put that evil on me. No, he's a good player still, and I don't want to take away from that. I just think he's going to be covered like he's still a superstar, and I just don't think he is.
I would agree. I'd say he's fourth on the list of helpers. Zay Flowers is going to be first because, as I've said, I always give receivers a big bump if their quarterback situation. Did you see those quarterbacks who were throwing the ball to him last year?
They were so bad.
Oh, ouch. So I think Flowers is my receiver one, just above Jackson Smith and Jigba. Mm-hmm. And I think I think Monken's number one because all of it, there's going to be motion. There's going to be 4 wide in the red zone. He's going to do all kinds of crazy stuff because he's a guy who was in the NFL, then went to Georgia and learned all this new stuff and is going to bring it to Baltimore. that's one of the things I'm most interested to see just in general from a schematic perspective. Like, what does this Ravens offense look like? Mark Andrews, top 3 tight end, one of the best in the league. And so it's Monken, Flowers, Andrews, and yeah, Odell's a nice round out piece. I don't think he's, is he an ex-ISO dominant person anymore? I'd be hard pressed to say it. Maybe he proves us wrong. I don't know, but yeah, I think he's a cog, not a superstar at this point. As my brethren at Football Outsiders used to write, he's a cog, not a superstar. And that's fine.
Yeah, it's totally fine. But I promise the training camp coverage is going to go over the top. And
training camp coverage? Hyperbole? What? No, that never happens.
All right, let's move on to third down here. Are there one or more rookies drafted outside the first or second rounds who you think will be a starter by the time training camp and the preseason end?
And yes, it can happen. I remember in 2012 covering the Seahawks up here, and Russell Wilson played a preseason game against the Chiefs, and they had just given Matt Flynn $30 million. And it was the third preseason game when there were 4. And I'm in the press box like, Matt Flynn, out. You knew. You just knew. Third round quarterback, third round rookie. He was supposed to just kind of come up. Nope, he's the guy. And believe it or not, folks, he once was. So it can happen. And I'll start with Arkansas linebacker Drew Sanders, who the Broncos took with the 67th overall pick in the 3rd round. The Alabama transfer got enough reps at the Razorbacks last season to show that he's an excellent run stopper at the 2nd level. Needs some work in coverage. And he's also a highly effective blitzer. He's a 2-level guy. He's not Micah Parsons, but he's that sort of archetype. Sanders had 11 sacks and 39 total pressures last season. I'm fascinated to see how Vance Joseph utilizes him in those fronts because they've got some good linebackers. They've got some, signed Frank Clark, and they're still looking for edge help. So he could help on 2 levels. I don't know about starter. I mean, if they play a bunch of dime, how many linebackers are going to start? But that guy's going to see some major reps. And I'd also like to mention one of my guys in this draft class, former TCU cornerback Travius Hodges-Tomlinson, selected by the Rams with the 182nd pick in the 6th round. The only reason that happened is 5'8", 178. But the Rams are rebuilding at just about every position. Hodges-Tomlinson can be a legitimate outside corner who can roll deep, and the Rams have experience with a guy pretty much like this. They turned UAB's Darius Williams from an undrafted free agent who was floating around the league to a starting level defender who later got a huge contract with the Jaguars. Williams is 5'9", 187. They ran him outside opposite Jalen Ramsey. He did just fine. So I think Hodges-Tomlinson or Trey Tomlinson, I'm trying to figure out if he's actually changed his name or not. So my apologies if I'm getting this, trying to hedge my bets here. But he will prove the skeptics wrong if given a chance. And with this Rams team, there are all kinds of chances at all kinds of positions.
So I'm gonna pick one from each side of the ball here, and I'm gonna flip them from how I have them here on our rundown, because I want to stick with the Rams here because that roster is depleted. I think they have 44 new players on their 90-man roster. Like half their 90-man roster is new players, and they have like 30 rookies or something insane like that. But I'm gonna stick with
it's the Cleveland Indians. He's dead. Cross him off the list, kind of thing.
Right, exactly. Big major league vibes. But yes. I'm looking at defensive end Byron Young, a 3rd round pick out of Tennessee. Super exciting athlete at the position. He's got good size. The tape isn't crazy consistent, but there's enough there, like the eye-popping plays, that you could see him becoming a star in the NFL. And you get him on a defensive line with Aaron Donald. That's just by default going to make his life easier. Yeah. And B, there's no one else on that depth chart. They had 38 sacks last year. 9 of them were Leonard Floyd, gone. 6 of them were Bobby Wagner, an off-ball linebacker, gone. So 15 of their 38 sacks, just off the top, gone. They're 2 team leaders. So he's going to get a ton of opportunities, I think, and he's a really good athlete. Yep. And I think that's going to show in camp, and he's going to be a starter for them day one. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's effective.
He was one of those under-the-radar guys in the draft class where a lot of people didn't talk about him, but his name would come up once in a while, and you go back and look at some tape and go, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
not a top-tier guy, but you can see why he went in the 3rd round or whatever, but it's like, maybe.
Yeah, you can see some upside there for sure. On offense, I'm going to stick with the University of Tennessee, and I'm going with wide receiver Jalen Hyatt, also a 3rd round pick, a guy that I thought might go in the 1st round.
Yeah.
And maybe he ends up just kind of being a one-trick pony and he's taking tops off defenses and that's just kind of his lot in life, and that's fine. He can carve out a good career
Okay.
that way, but
Yeah.
he's a really explosive athlete on a team that had 9 different wide receivers catch passes last year, and their team leader had 724 yards. That was Darius Slayton. They brought in Darren Waller from the Raiders. That'll be a nice ad for Daniel Jones, but I just don't think they have a ton of really competition for Hyatt on the outside. They need a
Yeah.
big play threat, and he very much is that. And I think he's going to get a ton of opportunities straight off the rip in New York. So I think Jalen Hyatt is a starter for them week 1.
I love Hyatt in theory. What I want to
Right.
see is, and it's the same dings that people have had on Hendon Hooker, but it's more problematic when you're a receiver. That Josh Hoople offense was so spread out. I mean, pure air raid, like the old school
Yeah.
Hal Mummy air raid from a million years
Yep.
ago, where you're just spreading the field. The first time he sees press coverage in the NFL is going to be an interesting experience for young Mr. Hyatt, because he saw no press last year. That's not what people could do, because if you're pressing him, first of all, you're on an island, and that's a problem. And second of all, he's just going to smoke you right off the line. So I could see some growing pains, but it's kind of like when I'm not comparing him to Randy Moss, but when Randy Moss came into the NFL, he can only run 2 routes. Yeah, but you can't cover him on either one of them, so it's okay. He just runs goes and posts, that's fine. Some minor developmental sort of next level concerns when he hits NFL, and it's becoming more of a press coverage league, so he's going to get a lot of it. It's ice cream factory time for him. But certainly, the explosive potential is off the charts.
I'm going to hit up Giants Wire managing editor Dan Benton, and I'm going to tell him that you just compared Jalen Hyatt to Randy Moss. Like, write this up, Dan.
It's not even August, and I'm already being misrepresented. That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right,
yes, please. Whenever I make those comparisons and then say I'm not making that comparison, please tell everyone that I'm indeed making that comparison.
No context. You don't get context.
No context
you don't get
whatsoever.
That benefit.
No. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to 4th down here. Which new arrival in the NFL are you most excited to see in these training camps? It could be a coach, a player, an executive, a water boy. I don't know. Who's piqued your interest due to their potential in a new home?
I'm still working on my top 11 water boys list. Still going through the tape, so I can't.
I know, a lot of tape to grind for sure.
Let's go back to that later. I'm doing that in long snappers. So the long snapper all 22. That you really gotta peel through that. Back to the Browns in all seriousness, and the combination of a renewed defensive line and new defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz in 2022. Per Pro Football Focus, Myles Garrett was responsible for 18 of Cleveland's 37 sacks, 8 of the team's 23 quarterback hits, and 47 of the team's 118 quarterback hurries. Not the ratio you want. It does mean that Myles Garrett is the best edge rusher in the NFL, which we already knew that. Sorry, I know you're thinking you're going to hit me over the head with Nick Bosa, and you have a point.
No,
but
Bosa, Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, they're all like 1A, 1B, 1C.
Right.
It's fine.
But Cleveland now has Schwartz's acumen, the additions of Zadarius Smith, Dalvin Tomlinson, and Ogbonnia Okoronkwo. Seriously underrated bunch to align with Garrett's world-destroying talents. I think the Browns' defense will be far more fun and interesting and palatable than its offense this year. But you pair, and Zadarius Smith has been like underrated for the last half decade, as has Tomlinson. They basically stole the 2 guys on Minnesota's defense who played really well last year. So,
right.
Ouch, Vikings. But that line, that Browns defense is going to be sneaky good. They've got some real talent there.
I'm going to stick with defensive lines, and part of me wants to go back to DJ Moore and Justin Fields, but I'm going to diversify
that
a little
will
bit.
be a thing, yes.
Yeah, I absolutely think it is, but I like that the 49ers leaned all the way into their quarterbacks don't matter thing, and they just went and got Javon Hargrave and plugged him into their defensive line. And sneaky, the 49ers defensive tackle situation was bad last year. It was really, really subpar. And they had to kind of piece together.
Armstead, they'll put him inside their nickel fronts. They played a ton of nickel, but he's not really a defensive tackle. He's sort of a hybrid guy. Right.
But now he exclusively plays inside, and he hasn't been good there really. I mean, he's been fine, but he hasn't been super productive as a pass rusher since DeForest Buckner left. So you plug in Javon Hargrave there. They have another dominant tackle on the inside. And now the Niners have, the best available free agent at one of their weakest positions. And it's going to take some doing. Like, they're going to need their defense to be in the top 5 or top 3 if they're going to be competitive week in and week out and make a deep playoff run. So can they catch Philly? I don't know, but the Javon Hargrave signing, I think, gets them closer than they were at the end of last season. Obviously it's going to come down to the quarterback play. Is it good enough? Are they healthy? But Hargrave next to Nick Bosa with Eric Armstead, I think that's going to be a really, really fun defensive line that could be really, really dominant.
Plus, you could argue outside of Hassan Reddick, they took the best guy from Philly's front 5 last year, which helps their case in that regard as well.
So then they just went and added Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith and called it good. Oh, cool, man.
As I often say, the NFL needs to investigate what can be done about Howie Roseman because he's just better than everyone else.
It's totally outrageous.
Yes.
Super excited for training camp. Can't wait to continue diving in with you, Doug, and with everybody watching 4 Down Territory. Thank you for doing so. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with more insight on everything going on around the NFL. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, everyone.